it's incredible to be back here and to share my experiences because I think girls are so much at the center of what's happening all around the world. So today I just kind of want to paint a picture, and thank you so much, Remy. It's nice to see you again, sweetheart. I really kind of want to paint a picture of how I went from High School Musical to this, because I think it's an interesting journey and one that many of you might be interested in. How many of you saw High School Musical, by the way? Okay. Okay. So you guys all know that I played the brainy Taylor McCaskey, right? Smartest girl in school. So after High School Musical was over, I had a really interesting moment because I was significantly older than the rest of the cast. Many of you may not know that. I'm not a teenager. Haven't been for a long time. And so I was playing about 10 years younger than my character. And when it was over, I had this realization that a lot of times in Hollywood, people seem to kind of lose themselves. And it isn't to pass judgment on anyone. It's just simply to say that it happens. Because when you go from 0 to 100 and you see yourself on billboards and posters and all around the world and you have this whirlwind of an experience, sometimes you don't remember who you are. And so after it was over, I wanted to face myself and look in the mirror and say, Mo, now that this is leaving you, how are you not going to go away with it? And so what I did was I did something that I don't think a lot of people do is I let it go. I let go of the idea of fame. I let go of the idea that I was special. I realized that I had an incredible opportunity here. And that the reason why High School Musical was as successful as it is, besides from how cute Zac Efron is, and the songs, is the people. Each and every young person that watched this film is what made High School Musical so successful. And I thought about that and realized that High School Musical didn't have any swearing. High School Musical, nobody made out. High School Musical was a G-rated movie. G-rated. It's really hard to get a G rating, okay? G-rated movie. What that said to me was that young people are craving positive content. Young people have a desire to do good, to be good. And is there something that I could do, possibly, to contribute to this in some way? And so that's when the idea for the organization and company that I started came, called Gimme Mo. And Gimme Mo is an online talk show and resource for young people that really empowers you through safe conversation about real issues. I felt like before young people find themselves in situations that they didn't really mean to be in, or they need information, I wanted them to have access to the right information. And so that's where Gimme Mo came from. And around this time, it was August of 2010, I got invited to do the closing remarks at the United Nations that launched the International Year of Youth. Now, I had no idea. It was International Youth Day, and I'm there. The Secretary General is there. I'm dying. I'm like literally sweating bullets, like trying to keep my underarms down because I'm so scared that I'm gonna have these huge sweat marks running down my sides because I just can't believe that I'm here. Like, what did I do to get here? And I'm standing there and I'm like, wait a minute. The International Year of Youth, when did that happen? And I find out that it didn't happen. It was happening. And today was the day that was marking the beginning of the International Year of Youth. And I thought, okay, wait a minute. I just started an organization for young people. I love young people. I know a lot of things that are going on. How did I not know about this? And if I didn't know about this, I'm sure there are other people that don't know about it either. I have to tell everybody. And so while I was sitting there, I was thinking to myself, you know, maybe there's a brownie I could bake or I don't know, like how can I use my platform? And this is when I took a huge leap of bravery and I sent the United Nations an email. I don't know, you know, like remember when people used to write letters to the president? I took a chance and I wrote a letter to the United Nations and basically said that. I said, listen, you know, I'm willing to be of service. I don't know what you need, but whatever you need, I'll do it. I'll help you fundraise. I'll help you raise awareness. I have a megaphone. I have a group of young people that are followed this film. Whatever you need, I'm willing to do it. A couple months later, I imagine they probably had to do a few background checks to make sure that I wasn't crazy. But a couple months later, they appointed me the first ever United Nations Youth Champion. And it's just incredible because I really, first of all, I didn't expect that. I was just really expecting them to say, sure, tweet about it. But when they gave me that role, it was one of those moments, I call it my divine appointment, because it didn't exist. And literally, as I was sitting there, all I did was essentially lift up a prayer. All I did was say, I'm willing to be a part of something greater than myself. And they came back and said, well, would you like to maybe take on a role of leadership? But it didn't stop there. Because another thing that I've noticed is sometimes people take themselves a little too seriously and take position a little too seriously. And so the fact that I had this position, to me, was only the gateway to an opportunity to actually do something to make a difference. I was sitting in Los Angeles. Los Angeles, to me, was not the best place to represent the youth of the world. So the first thing that I said to them was, I'd like to travel. I feel like I should go places and talk to kids and, get myself out there. And they were like, well, okay, wait. That sounds great. But, we don't have a budget for this year. We weren't expecting to appoint someone in this position. And that's when I had to make a choice. I had to stop and think to myself, is this something that I'm going to pass up because they don't have a budget? Or am I going to dig into my own pockets, recognize the blessing that I have with doing High School Musical, and invest not only in myself and this opportunity, but invest in the youth of the world? And I chose the latter. So I ended up self-funding this trip around the world. And when I left, I had one plane ticket bought, and I knew what I was going to do for about a month, but that was it. And when I got back, I had traveled to 24 countries. I had met girls who had been trafficked in the Philippines. I had met boys who had escaped conflict in Colombia. I had seen children in the most extreme poverty in Bangladesh. I had slept at a refugee camp in Kenya. I had met with the highest level government officials, from presidents to foreign ministers, and I'd gone to the best international schools and seen and touched and hugged hundreds and thousands of young people. And it was a mind-blowing experience. What I learned from the trip, and this is where I'm going to go to my notes so I don't forget anything, but what I learned from the trip more than anything is that young people, regardless of their situation, their circumstance, more than anything, just want to have a voice. They want to be heard, and they want to feel like they have the opportunity to contribute. So ladies, my message to you is, if you want to say something, say something. If you want to make a difference, then do something. You don't have to wait for someone to give you permission or open a door or have a budget for you to do the things that are in your heart to do. Now, as we know, that's not so simple in many places, because when you lack clean drinking water, are burdened with caring for your younger siblings, are excluded from getting an education, or forced into child marriage, chances are it might be difficult to believe that they can really make a difference. But the truth is you can, with a little bit of help. And these situations that I just described are actually really true in many parts of the world. And so that's why it's our responsibility, the girls that are in this room right now, it's our responsibility to be the voice for those who haven't yet found their voice. Because I'm telling you, girls are the answer. I got to visit this sanitation project in Kenya. And I remember thinking, like, sanitation, I honestly didn't know what that meant. So I was like, poop, water, like, what do we got here? Like, what should I wear, basically? Like, you know what I mean? I was like, okay, can I have a mask? And I get there, and I come to this room, and it's all these sewing machines and these ladies. And I was like, okay, what kind of sanitation project is this? Like, where's the dirt? And I realized that it was a sanitation project where this woman in the community, Sister Anne, she had started making sanitary napkins for girls who had to drop out of school because when they got their menstrual cycle every month, there was nothing to do. And I was like, well, no. I mean, there's obviously nothing to do. Like, what do they do? And she said, well, they go and sit under a tree. And I said, what do you mean they go and sit under a tree? They literally they make like a sack of sand and then they go and they sit under a tree. And so this woman had noticed that she had created this link between the fact that these girls were missing at least a week out of the month of school, and then eventually they just stopped going. And I attribute that not to the situation, but to the shame and the embarrassment of every single month going out and sitting under this tree. And so observing this sanitation project and seeing the ingenuity of this woman who made sustainable sanitary napkins. They were reusable for a year and gave them to these girls, that something so simple could make such a huge impact. So I'm telling you, girls are the answer. We have to realize that every single day we have an opportunity to aim higher, to reach farther, and to learn more. We in this room have the responsibility to help stop violence against women and girls. We have to instill self-worth and esteem. We have to teach boys to respect girls and girls to respect themselves. We have to empower, inspire, and support girls through their diverse challenges. And I want to speak briefly on leadership because that's why we're all here. Leadership isn't always a choice. I think sometimes it's actually thrust upon you. And so whether you are, a leader because it's something that you've always wanted to do, or you just kind of find yourself in a leadership role, I want to share a few things that have helped me I think become a better leader. The first thing is to let go of anything that doesn't serve you. Leadership requires discipline, responsibility, and service. So negative thoughts, bad habits, or anything that weighs you down has to be left behind if you're going to step into a role of leadership. The second thing, and this is the one that I struggle with the most, is that to be a great leader, you have to move out of your own way. I want you to think about that for a second. Move out of your own way. What I mean by that is you can't let your personal limitations be that of your leader. Remember that the causes that we're fighting are actually bigger than us. We are simply the vessels through which they manifest. So I often feel underprepared, underqualified, not quite ready. But if the world waited for us to be ready, nothing would ever get done. You may never be ready. You may never feel 100% prepared. You may never feel that you have what it takes, but you have to trust that you do, and that at every step that you get to, you will be greeted with more knowledge, with more answers, with more understanding. The next thing I think is to become comfortable with what you don't know. In fact, I suggest that you seek out moments that make you uncomfortable. And the more uncomfortable, the better. This is how you know that you're growing. When you find yourself in a room where you feel like people are smarter, more driven, more ambitious, better prepared, my thought is that's awesome. I always say that there's this fine line between being inspired and intimidated. But if you walk that line with grace, you will always fall on the side of inspiration. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. If every time you walk into a room you know everyone, you're not uncomfortable enough. If every time you're sitting somewhere you have all the answers, you haven't learned enough. Find yourself in places and situations that make you shake, that make you sweat, where you fear from the bottom of your core that you aren't enough. And that's the magic moment that I believe everything around you helps to show you and to prove to you that you are more than enough. You have more than enough inside of you. Because if you can't come to that place with everything that we have, with these lights, with these clothes, with this water, with everything that we have, if we can't come to that, how are we going to help girls in developing countries come to that realization? We have to do it first. We have to liberate ourselves in order to liberate anyone else. And the last thing that I think is essential to being a great leader is to make friends with fear. I don't think that everyone should sit around and saying, don't be afraid, stop being afraid. Fear is the enemy. Fear is not the enemy. Fear is your best friend. Because when you find yourself in new situations, you're often going to be afraid. But if you waited for the fear to go away, the opportunity or the moment may pass before that ever happens. So you have to learn how to strap fear on your back and carry it with you into situations. That when you're standing there and you're like, just back there, I was telling Amy, like, oh my God, I always get so scared to get up there and talk to people. And she's like, how are you afraid? I'm like, I just am. I don't mean to be. I don't want to be. It's not like I'm like, oh, yay, welcome. Hey, fear. Thanks for showing up. But if I just allowed the fear, I'd still be in the back of the room, sitting back there thinking, oh my God, that's so beautiful. She's so awesome. Oh, wow, that video was so inspiring. Oh my God, these girls are so beautiful. And I wouldn't be up here sharing my experiences. So you have to make friends with fear. You have to understand that sometimes it's not going to leave before you open your mouth. But when you open your mouth, that fear gets transformed. It gets transformed into new energy, positive energy that can inspire other people. Because again, when you overcome that fear, when you have that courage, other people can feel it and other people can be inspired and know that they can do the same thing. You liberating yourself of your fears and moving through them liberates other people in the same way. And I want to share a quote with you. It's one of my favorite quotes that I found. It's by this woman named Eve Ensler, and I consider her one of our brave warriors in the fight to end violence against women. She says this: when we give to the world what we need the most, it heals the broken parts in each of us. I'm going to say that one more time. When we give to the world what we need the most, it heals the broken parts in each of us. If you need love, give love. If you need joy, give joy. If you need understanding, seek and give understanding. Whatever you need the most, give it every single day. Give every last drop of it, and you will be blessed abundantly for everything that you give out. So my plea to you today is let's bond together as women and as girls. Because if not us, then who? And if not now, then when? Thank you so much.